The first time someone whispered that my alpha husband might be cheating on me, I laughed. Not the nervous laugh of someone in denial, no. A real, full-bodied laugh that felt like it could shatter glass. Because if there was one thing I was certain of in this messy, judgmental world, it was that Adrian Hale belonged to me. And yet, certainty has a way of crumbling the moment you take it for granted. By the second week, the rumors had carved themselves into my skin. Every grocery store aisle, every PTA meeting, every passing glance in our small suburban town carried the same undertone: pity. They looked at me as though I were a man unaware that the ground beneath him was about to split in two. Adrian was the kind of alpha that people noticed even when he wasn't trying. 6'3", a presence that filled every doorway, with a voice that could calm storms or stir them. He coached the local high school football team, and it seemed the entire town adored him. Which, of course, only made the whispers louder. They weren't just about infidelity, they were about betrayal with someone weaker, someone unexpected. A beta. It stung. Not because I doubted Adrian's love, but because for the first time, I saw how fragile trust could be when the world around you roots for it to shatter. I met Adrian when I was 23, fresh out of college and already carrying the invisible scars of growing up in a place where boys like me weren't supposed to want boys like him. He'd walked into the diner where I worked, ordered coffee, and asked if I believed in fate. It was ridiculous, over the top, and yet somehow it worked. 3 years later, we were married under a sky that seemed to bend just for us. Now, sitting in our kitchen with the silence heavy between us, I stared at the man I loved more than my own reflection and wondered if I was supposed to fight harder or if I'd already lost. "You've been quiet," Adrian said finally, breaking the spell. His hands, large and calloused, toyed with the edge of his coffee mug. "What's going on in that head of yours?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand if he'd been sneaking around, if some beta had slipped into the spaces where I once belonged. But the words caught in my throat, because more than fear, there was shame. Shame that I, his husband, the one who should know him best, was letting the voices of strangers build walls between us. "I'm fine," I lied. It was the kind of lie that cracked the air in two, that begged for someone to call it out. Adrian didn't. He just reached across the table, brushing his thumb over the back of my hand in a gesture so simple, so familiar, it nearly broke me. But trust is fragile, and once a crack forms, it only takes pressure for it to spread. That night, lying in bed while Adrian's steady breaths filled the darkness, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, hearing the echoes of every whisper, every laugh, every cruel word I thought I'd buried years ago. And then I did something reckless. I slipped out of bed, pulled on my jacket, and drove across town to the bar where the rumors had supposedly started. The place reeked of spilled beer and stale perfume. And sure enough, in the corner booth, I found him. The beta. His name was Rihanna Face. I vaguely recognized from town. Someone who'd been at a few games, maybe a friend of a friend. He looked up, startled, when I approached. "Oh, you must be..." "Don't..." I cut him off, my voice sharper than I intended. "Just tell me the truth. Are you sleeping with my husband?" The bar seemed to go silent around us. Ryan blinked, then laughed, not cruelly, not mockingly, but with the kind of disbelief that made my skin prickle. "God, no," he said, shaking his head. "Is that what people are saying?" I froze. His eyes held no deception, no guilt, only a strange kind of pity that twisted my stomach. "Look," Ryan continued, leaning closer, lowering his voice. "Adrian helped me out a few times, yeah. My dad's been sick. Bills are complicated. Adrian covered for me at work when I couldn't show up, lent me money once or twice. People talk. They always will. But I swear, there's nothing between us." For the first time in weeks, something inside me loosened. Relief, sharp and painful, crashed over me, but it was tangled with something darker. Shame. I had doubted the man who had given me everything, even when the truth was standing right in front of me. Driving home, the streets blurring past in streaks of neon and shadow, I realized I had a choice. I could keep letting the world dictate the story of my marriage, or I could fight for it with everything I had. When I slipped back into bed, Adrian stirred, his arm instinctively wrapping around my waist, pulling me close. "You okay?" he mumbled, half asleep. This time I didn't lie. I whispered into the darkness. "Not yet, but I will be, if you'll let me." His hold tightened, and even though he said nothing, I felt the answer in the way his chest rose and fell against my back. What I didn't know then was that the fight had only just begun. Because in small towns like ours, love between two men, especially when one was an alpha, was never allowed to exist quietly. And silence, I was about to learn, could be the most dangerous enemy of all. The days after my late-night confrontation with Ryan blurred together in a haze of guilt, relief, and a strange sense of rebirth. I had looked my fears in the face and realized they weren't monsters at all, just shadows I had fed by believing too much in gossip and too little in the man I married. But the town wasn't finished with me. With us. It began with whispers, then escalated into open stares. At the grocery store, I overheard someone mutter, "Poor guy. Doesn't even know the truth." At the gas station, a woman I'd known since high school looked me up and down and shook her head. It didn't matter that the truth was on our side. What mattered was the story they wanted to believe. And I was so goddamn tired of letting them write it for me. One Saturday, while Adrian was out coaching practice, I walked into the bakery downtown where I knew half the town gathered for coffee and gossip. The bell above the door chimed, and every head turned. My pulse hammered, but I forced my legs to carry me to the counter. I ordered a coffee, turned around, and faced them all. "You can keep talking about us," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "But you should know something. Adrian hasn't betrayed me. He's been helping a friend. That's it. The only thing that's true is Tishi loves me. And I love him. So, if you're waiting for our marriage to fall apart, I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed." The silence was thick, suffocating. Then someone laughed under their breath. Someone else whispered. I didn't wait to hear more. I walked out, my heart pounding, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. That night, when Adrian came home, sweaty and tired from practice, I told him everything. His reaction wasn't anger, it was something heavier, something that made my chest ache. "You shouldn't have to defend us," he murmured, pulling me into his arms. "But I'm proud of you for doing it. I should have been louder. I should have I cut him off, pressing my forehead against his. "You've carried us long enough. It was my turn." He kissed me then slow, deep, like he was sealing a promise. But life wasn't about one victory. It was about the countless battles that followed. And the biggest one came 2 weeks later, when the school board called Adrian in for a meeting. They didn't fire him, not outright, but they suggested, in polite, measured tones, that, for the sake of avoiding distraction, he consider stepping down. The implication was clear. His marriage, our marriage, was a scandal they couldn't stomach. I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he came home that day. Not broken, not defeated, just tired. "I won't let them take this from you," I said fiercely. "From us," he corrected gently. The next morning, we showed up at the football field together. Parents, players, townsfolk, they were all there. Adrian stood before them, his hand gripping mine tightly. "I was told my marriage is a distraction," he began, his voice carrying across the field. "But let me be clear, my marriage is the best part of my life. If you want me gone because of who I love, then I'll leave. But I won't apologize. Not now, not ever." Gasps, murmurs. But then, something I didn't expect, one of the players, a tall, awkward teenager with acne and a shaky voice, stepped forward. "Coach, don't go. You're the best thing that's ever happened to this team. We don't care who you love." Others followed. Parents nodded. Even a few of the older townsfolk, the ones I thought would be the harshest, stayed quiet instead of objecting. For the first time, it wasn't just us against the town. It was us, and everyone who finally realized love wasn't the enemy. Later, when the crowd had dispersed and the adrenaline wore off, Adrian and I sat on the bleachers, the field stretching out before us like an open road. "You know," I said, my head resting on his shoulder, A month ago, I thought I was going to lose you. He turned, kissing the top of my head. You'll never lose me. Not to a beta. Not to anyone. Not even to this town. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I believed him without a trace of doubt. The rumors didn't stop overnight, but they changed shape. Instead of whispers of betrayal, they became whispers of defiance. Of two men who refused to let a narrow-minded world dictate the worth of their love. Weeks later, Ryan stopped me in the street. You know, he said with a smile, people are saying you two are stronger than ever. Kind of ironic, isn't it? The rumors that were supposed to break you ended up proving just how unbreakable you are. I laughed then, a real laugh, the kind that shook loose all the weight I'd been carrying. Because he was right. I once believed my alpha husband would never leave me. Rumors made me fear losing him to a beta. But now, standing beside him as the sun dipped low and painted the world gold, I realized the truth. I was the one smiling, and maybe that was the sweetest revenge of all. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.